Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington. And today, I think it's going to be a good one. I've been chasing this one a while. Pretty prolific photographer and member of kind of the wedding community at large. It's Jenny Gigi with Jenny Gigi Photography. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. Not only we're just getting off weddings in Woodinville. It's busy, backlogs coming all the way down here to the house in West Seattle. Really a lot. I really do appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I'm excited.
And just, getting through any nerves or anything.
All the nerves.
Why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, I'm Jenny Gigi, and I am a wedding and portrait photographer here in Seattle. Been around since 2008, really, was my first year of actually doing weddings specifically. I had been, taking photos of friends and family and such for years, but this was when it got real.
It got real.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so we're just coming off weddings in Woodinville over the weekend.
It was great.
Just talk to me about how did that go for you?
I think it went really super, really. I don't try to put an enormous amount of pressure on myself to book couples or anything like that. I really, with these situations, I try to breathe and just talk to people. It's really nice. The smaller shows, you can have really good conversations with people, and it's a great time to get to know the other vendors too, really, or spend more time with them.
And it was a beautiful day. We really lucked out.
We really did. Yeah, it started raining, I think, near the end, but everybody was really prepared for that. So it didn't even seem like a big deal.
And I would have to think that like shows like that, because you really do feel like you're someone that really gets connected to your clients, right? Mm-hmm. You really take an investment in that. And, we worked together this year with Haley and John, and I can see that, right? And so talk to me about, you must have to appreciate shows like that where you are able to talk with them more. Talk about your approach to that and getting to know your clients. Well,
I feel like everybody gets nervous when they get engaged because they just don't know what to ask, and they have everybody coming at them with all the shoulds. I kind of joke with my couples about that a lot, that as soon as you get engaged, then everyone starts shoulding all over you, and saying, shouldn't you do this and shouldn't you do that? And, really the only should be to have a great time and to enjoy as much of the day as you can. You spend, I don't know how often people book you in advance, but sometimes I meet people 12, 15 months in advance, and yeah, dude, they're just like, I don't know. And I'm like, you don't need to know. It's okay. All you need to know right now is whether or not you want to hang out with me all day, because we're going to help you. And I'm going to help, when we get way closer, I'm going to help you make a timeline. It's going to fit really good. It's going to feel good. We're going to have a great time. Just make sure you want to hang out with me.
Yeah, and it's so tough nowadays just with, expectations and budgets and families. And you really, like you said, you just want people to have fun, get married, right? Be in love. It is hard though.
And it's intentional fun. You're planning for fun. So you know yourself best, you know your family best. Don't try to set yourself up for something that you're not going to be able to accomplish as a person. You're going to be who you are on your wedding day, to the 10th, right? So embrace it.
And you are definitely someone that likes to have fun, really likes to put your couples at ease. Talk about, just how do you approach the wedding day with them? What do you want to accomplish, and what do you want, to make sure that your brides and grooms and whatever, how do you want their day to feel for them?
Well, ultimately I want them to look at their photos 6 months, a year later, sit down with someone that couldn't come and really feel like they could not only express what happened and what the visuals were, but what it felt like. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question actually, and I've already forgotten what your original question was.
No, but that's good.
What do I look for? Oh, so yeah, you rephrase the question. So
yeah, no,
sorry.
I think you're very intentional with how you talk to your clients. You really want them to have fun, be at ease. What are kind of your goals for the wedding day, just in terms of not only just obviously we're going to get good photos, but how do you want them to remember the day? How do you want the day to feel for them?
Well, and it's interesting too, because I say the word fun a lot and we use the word fun a lot, but it's not a wild, abandoned kind of fun. It's very much, knowing who we are as a couple and what we want to see visually when all is said and done. I like to ask lots of questions about how they are together. I try and use the engagement session, if we're doing one, to really not just give them photos of themselves so they can reflect back what they liked or what they didn't like, but also just to really help them dial in to really what they do want to see at their wedding day. Because I think a lot of times you have all these ideas and everything's way out there and you want a little bit of everything. And I think ultimately the feedback I get from people is, we really just want to be married and we want to have a really good party. And so, I just try to give them what they tell me they want to see, because I'm not going to be looking at these photos in 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, I will. I kind of go back a lot, and I get excited when people call me when they're pregnant. You were mentioning something about having clients that have had a few children now and things like that, and I want to be a part of all of that. So, and I've been lucky enough to have that happen in a lot of circumstances. But I really do just ultimately want their wedding photos to look and feel that it represents like who they are. So anyway, those are the most successful weddings that I have, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, I
don't even know if I answered your question.
You did great.
I know, I feel so tangential.
No, you did great. And just, for having done this for as long as you have now, how do you, continue? I mean, you're always working and having awesome weddings and people know you. And how do you kind of keep, is it just the wonderful relationships you've made with venues and vendors and just your word of mouth? Or how do you continue to kind of attract the couples that you do for the weddings that you have?
Well, I really try to be as inclusive as possible. I try to use my energy to draw, like they say, or whatever. And so I think that I just try to be who I am. I didn't do well in the corporate world because I was so much me. And so when I realized that in my own business, people actually like me and want more of that, what I refer to as being a dork, I really just kind of leaned in. So I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's the truth. I'm lucky enough to stay busy, but I'm not everybody's favorite. And, but I am some people's favorite. So yeah.
And as long as you're more favorites than not. Then.
Well, right. I just, I try to love everybody equally. So anyway, when I first came into the industry, I was really struck by how little that diversity there was, especially visually. It was just a lot of white and straight and skinny and beautiful. And that is wonderful. I love white people. I joke about that. I love everybody though, and so I really wanted to focus my early years on just having I blogged every wedding. I didn't care whether you got married in your backyard with 4 people or if you, did the full on, I'm trying to think of what the biggest wedding I've ever done. Maybe 300 guests, something like that, 400 guests. Anyway, and I liked that. And the feedback I got was, yay, thank you. I haven't seen a bride that looks like me, or I haven't seen a groom that looks like me, or, and then when same-sex marriage came, forget it. That was like a huge pivot for our industry and in a wonderful way. And so I don't know. I just keep on keeping on, I guess.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, I remember I was working at Q13 when it was weed passed and gay marriage passed, like all the same day. And it was people
partying on Seattle. Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah, we were out till like midnight covering all that stuff.
That's so fun.
Yeah. It was a cool time to
I'm trying to remember what radio or what news station came, because I was shooting a wedding that night. I think that I sort of hope that maybe I got to shoot like one of the first, because the officiant came back at midnight.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. And we had the news crews were there and the paper, and
I'm sure you were. That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Maybe we were at the same wedding. And
Wouldn't that have been crazy if we were? Yeah, it was Mary and Monica. And they're still married. I got a bunch of, when I started posting their photos, people were, trolls and stuff were coming around and saying, oh, they're too beautiful. 2 women wouldn't be, like suggesting that it was somehow faked. But they have 2 kids now. And Super real.
That's good. No, and I know what you mean when you're talking about, the diversity in blogging things, and like, that's like, with our videos and stuff too, like, we get a lot of different religions and cultures and traditions and, ethnicities and, gay and straight, whatever. Like, I just want, I think it's important, like, for whatever it is, that you can look at a website and see something that reflects something of what you want, right? And it is hard. And I do think that, like, it's difficult for some people, even white, whatever, straight, to be like, well, that's not what I want, or that's not me, or that's not right. Talk about just always making sure that you're including everybody in that diversity that you speak about.
Well, I think it's really important that when anyone gets engaged, or when anyone wants to have their photo taken, really, because, I enjoy that aspect of it too. But it's nice when you go to look at photographers and you can see that they not only photograph, people from all backgrounds, but also that you can handle the things that come. A lot of photographers don't post rainy day weddings. A lot of photographers don't post weddings in a community center where everything is tube fluorescent lighting and not going to be the prettiest ethereal thing. But those days are still that's still a wedding day, and it's still, at that point, usually the best day ever for that couple. So, I just think it's really important to show all of it, because then you don't feel less than, and in your presentation of your wedding, I guess. So.
It is hard, no, because I do think, like, we as, visually, whatever country, you do approach weddings differently, right? And like, we might sit there and be like, well, this is kind of rough.
Yeah, you got to work with it, right?
Yeah.
Got to make it work.
But like you said, like, no one goes into it, no one like plans it and been like, well, this is going to look like crap. Like, I want this to be, for them, it's what, or it's the venue they could afford, or it's the thing that was convenient, or
it's what's beautiful to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who am I to critique that, right?
Well, no, because that's
I got married in jeans. It's true.
That's awesome. Tell me about that.
So my wife, Jen, we have the same first name. She and I got married between two trees at Discovery Park. We waited a whopping 2 weeks after same-sex marriage became legal. And then, of course, like 3 weeks later, I was like, I want a party. And then we planned a big party, and that was really fun. But we just, we worked together. And so, I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about talking about her. But yay.
That's great.
Jen is wonderful.
Yeah, Jen's great. Jen,
she's amazing.
I met Jen at the wedding that we were at together. Yeah.
She's with me all the time. A lot of photographers in the city will tout themselves as husband and wife teams, or, partnered teams. We're totally partnered, and she helps me virtually with almost every wedding. She just is very much an introvert. And so we don't, I don't necessarily promote, her as a part of it, but she's a part of it. She's a part of every single one, almost.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, how do you describe your photography style?
I would say it's relatively candid. I don't call myself a photojournalist. I will tell you if you're, if you have a booger, I'll tell you. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna. I feel like I'm a girl first, and in the sense that. Especially if my couple has told me that they're concerned about certain things, I try to be very comforting to them, knowing that I got you. I got your front, I got your back, I got it all. So I don't, tout the journalism part. However, I do like to document the day as journalistically as I possibly can. And so, our intentional portrait time, I'm very vocal. You saw that. I talk a lot, and I try to get people to laugh and forget they're having their photo taken, and and then when it's, when they're focused on other things, then I just want to be able to really document the day. So is that answering your question? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That's how I like to approach the day.
That's good. Well, no, and you had spoken earlier about really feeling like, and I think this is important, where, when you were in the corporate world, you did not feel like you could be 100% just as loud and whoever, and I feel that way now too, right?
Gregarious, or,
But that you can be, and the people that are going to be attracted are going to want to work, and then it's not, but and that obviously translates to, the wedding day and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I do think that like I know like with Haley and John, like during their portrait session, like they really fed off that, right? And that has to feel good that like it's kind of like this spiraling effect of good stuff where like I'm in a place now where I'm supposed to be with what I'm supposed to do. People appreciate, right, how I am. And then that translates to kind of better work. I mean, do you feel like
I think that's what you just said is a mouthful. I think that's how everybody wants to feel, right? And so even more on their wedding day, if you have two people that are like, well, I think that this is great and that everything's good, can you affirm that? And so I feel like that's part of my job, it's not to blow smoke or anything. I'll definitely be honest with people when they ask me questions. However, I definitely think that it's key to have somebody in your court early on, especially early on in the wedding day, to be like, yeah, baby, show me. This is great. Let's do it. And so I hope that's what you were feeling when you were watching that. Yeah. I still try to make it be about them.
Yes.
And yet there's just that I'm that third person that's just sort of egging them on. Is that the right phrase?
Yeah.
Egging someone on. Yeah.
No, but I think I think we forget sometimes because like when you do weddings all the time, this is very nervous for them, right? This
Sure.
is a very new, and you do really need, especially the guys, like, yeah, and you're looking awesome. You're looking so good. Like, we're so excited. Like, it's all that you just want people to have a good day, right?
And to remember that it is just a day. You know what I mean? It's a great day, but in the moment, just be you, and then you won't have regrets because you'll know. I don't know. So anyway.
So I want to kind of figure, so how did you, because I've met you, we've worked together, we've met at the wedding shows, but I don't know a lot about how you kind of got into photography, right? How did you kind of get into the world of weddings? What did you do before you did weddings? I mean, how far back do you want to go talking?
I was born. No, I'm from California, and I moved up here from San Diego in the late 90s. And I'd always been in jobs, many different types of jobs, but ultimately they were all positions that required some sort of back and forth with people, whether it be simply being in retail, or I was a headhunter for a while when I first moved up here because it was the .com time frame or whatever. So as far as photography goes, I've been, as a lot of people are, I have loved photos for my whole life, and I was super into photography when I was younger. It was always just my, what do you call it when you take an extracurricular, or in school when you sign up for your extra classes or whatever, that was always my focus. And so, however, film is expensive, and it wasn't necessarily in my 20s. It wasn't necessarily something that I had a lot of access to. And I think at one point, I hate to admit it, but I pawned my camera to pay for rent 1 month in San Diego. So a camera that I had been given I think it was for high school graduation. And I know, anyway, it's awful to think about it, but it was what I needed to do at that time in my life. So, and then after my daughter was born, I, of course, was heavy into taking photos of her, but I wasn't hip to the new digital SLRs. And I visited a friend in San Diego, my friend Mark, and he was a gearhead, and he started showing me everything. And he was like, you can get right back into it now from a digital perspective. And I was like, yes, please. And so I did. And of course, having a child is, your constant muse. And so she was, at the risk of sounding like a mom with camera, I was, heavy into taking photos with my daughter. And at the time, Flickr was the big photo sharing site. And I participated in all the Flickr groups. I was in the Seattle Flickr group. It's where I met my wife. It's where, and there were some photographers, specifically wedding photographers, who were like, Jenny, you don't suck. You should do this. You should, you could do it. And so, but I'd only been to 2 weddings as an adult. And I was a bridesmaid in one of them in some purple taffeta, like in the 80s. Anyway, so I was an assistant for for that whole year. I think I just basically told everybody that I knew I would be happy to schlep their gear. And I did. And it just turned out that I really like weddings. I like the energy. I don't have a problem walking into a situation and just ingratiating myself immediately to the people. And then I was finishing a master's program at the time, and one of my schoolmates got engaged, and I said, I would love to do your wedding. Do you mind? I would photograph your wedding for free if you would talk about me online. And she did that in spades. And at the time, there were lots of that was the like 2007, 2008, 2008, all the chat rooms. So all the wedding websites had these chat rooms, and Offbeat Bride had a chat room, and The Knot had a chat room. The Wedding Bee, I think, at the time. Anyway, she just went on all of those and just talked about me. And I was able to quit my day job that next year. And I've just been doing it full time ever since.
Must have been quite a wedding. That the first one.
It wasn't a big hullabaloo. It was on the beach in Tahoe, and it was beautiful. And I knew half the people. It was wonderful, actually. And I really, so then when people started contacting me, I said yes, yes, and yes. And I have just said yes every time since. Occasionally now I say no, but I still like to say yes.
The master's you were studying, what was that for?
Social work. Yeah, I actually thought that I was going to save all the babies. And no. I like to photograph all the babies now, but so I'd always worked, so I always had jobs, but I always thought that I was going to become something, and so I started school late in life and thought that I was going to maybe be a therapist or psychologist of some form, but then social work was the direction I went. So I still use it. I think I use everything I learned at a wedding. Especially family dynamics.
Well, it's so funny you said that the Tahoe wedding that, you knew like half the people there. And I feel like you could go into any wedding and not know anybody except the bride and groom and still end up feeling like you know everybody there just because of it's
just part of who I am. Yeah, I feel lucky to have that part of my personality be pretty dialed in. And I'm still super insecure, and I can be super shy, especially if the attention is turned toward me. I think that's why I've hesitated, like you were saying, you've been chasing me for a while or whatever. But I think it's because I really love to I'll speak in front of a huge crowd, but as soon as I feel like the focus is me, that's when I begin to curdle and cower and say,
Well, you're doing good so far. No ums yet. So when it came to starting the business, was that scary? Was that exciting? Because you felt like you had maybe found something that you were finally really passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, it was super exciting. And I had always had passion for photography, but I'd never considered it to be an option for income. And I think that was the turning point, was when people started coming back and saying, I love it. And then do it again, do it more. And I think that really, that fueled something that I didn't know existed or that could exist for me. So.
Do you feel like they just kind of started spiraling, that you started attracting more? Did you feel like the work just started coming once you said?
Yeah.
I guess spiraling is the wrong word. You feel like once you jumped
spiraling up.
Yeah,
I guess.
spiraling. Yeah, exactly. I meant it. Yeah, as a positive. You felt like once you said yes, and the word of mouth, and
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of effort on my part to put myself out there and to meet people and to try and make some really strong connections. I wouldn't say that I know everybody. I don't. I don't know all the venues, and I don't know all the other vendors. But there were a few and some great relationships that I have made. I have a relationship with one officiant in particular, and we don't have any kind of deal or anything with each other. She just says, I love working with her, and I say that back. And so I think those relationships have been what helped that spiral and what helped that. And I think brides, I had a lot of brides, and early on especially, that knew each other. And the referral part of it, I didn't even consider initially. And it's ended up being really what I focus on. I love it when, my bride was a bridesmaid in a wedding from last year or whatever, that's been really, really cool. And I think that happened a lot, especially initially. There were clusters of brides, especially that were hanging out in these chat rooms together, I remember the Knot chat room. I think it was 2009 or
That's
10.
wild.
I had 15 brides that all knew each other. And in some way, I mean, mostly online, they knew each other. They didn't necessarily know each other in life, but anyway.
I had no
We
idea.
even did a pole dancing class together. I just posted it like about 6 months ago. It was like a 10-year anniversary. You know how they pop up on Time Hop? And the 6 of these brides that I had worked with, they all decided to go take a pole dancing class together. It was when Pole for the Soul was the thing or whatever, like be sexy and dance like a stripper. I don't know. All I know is I went with them and it was a great time. And it's fun, knowing people that way and still being friends with them. And anyway.
That's great.
Sorry. Super tangent.
No, it's great.
Like Pole for the Soul.
No, that's good. But I think
I was fully dressed at all times. Everyone was.
No, but I think how you approach your clients and get to know them and work with them, right? And so you're saying, your brides and grooms want to be advocates for you because of how you make them feel during the whole process, right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody comes into the, hiring me as a photographer knowing what that experience is going to be like. Obviously, that's a hard thing to sell. Experience is hard to express because obviously it's going to be different for different people. But I have had quite a few couples after the fact just be like, dude, thank you. Not just for photos, but I got a hug and an Advil in a pocket and whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever you need. So I think that's why. I think that it's not even necessarily sometimes about the photos. The photos are great and people get excited, but there are so many photographers to choose from. But I think sometimes in hindsight, it's like, yeah, it was really great to have Jenny there for more than just the photo taking part. But you can't really sell that, because I don't know if that's going to click with everybody.
It's hard to sell, but yeah. I wish that was an easier
what are they, value or intrinsic value? Is that what it's called? Yeah. So that's a hard one to tell people about. It's hard to say to someone, I'm great, or whatever. Yuck. That's why I ask former couples to come talk in my booth at the wedding show and other things like that, because it's way better to hear from bride to bride or from groom to groom, she's the real deal, or she's this, that, or the other. It's more palatable that way, I think.
No, I've seen that is kind of more of a trend lately, is having
Oh, is it?
I had never really seen that.
Oh,
and then
cool.
it just seems like over the last couple, not a lot, but, and I'm always like, wow, that's great. But I don't know if my clients want to hang out with me all day. Maybe you, right? They want to be with you all day. I don't know if any of my past couples want to
I'm
be
sure
with
I'm small doses to some folk,
That's right. So doing this for a long time, right? I mean, we're almost 12 years, right?
Yeah, something like that, 12, 13.
How do you just keep things fresh, keep things exciting, stay motivated, stay inspired? All
Do I? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, of course. I really try to hook into something with each couple, whether it's, something about them, whether it's something about their day, a component of their day. I keep waiting to get jaded each year, but I haven't. I think that I really dig intentional, planned joy. I can really hook into that. And
intentional plan joy. I like that.
That's what I call it. I mean, that's
that.
what I think of it as, it's not happenstance, right? I mean, a wedding day is so intricately planned. And you plan to have a good time, but you don't necessarily know what that's going to look like or how that's going to, especially if you're nervous, if you're a nervous person. Or a lot of people have anxiety around having their photo taken, as I'm sure you are well aware of. And they get really, antsy about adding that component to a day that already has a huge expectation on them. And so hopefully when they see me, they're a little more like, okay, it's Jenny, not, oh my God, the photographer's here, or whatever. So.
And is that just, how do you convey that? How do you make it? Is it just by being comfortable with them the whole time? How do you show up in that way that you want to be there?
I think I just talk about real things and things that are relatable and things that I've seen. And I guess it would be, obviously it's very situational, but most wedding days I start by showing up where someone's getting ready and everyone's there and there's a level of expectation and anxiety in the air. And so I have a tendency to come in and just cut through that anxiety, cut through that nervousness with some sort of self-deprecating joke or something like that. And that usually works well. If people are really tense, sometimes when I show up, they don't want the getting ready process. And so we're just, it's like right into the first look or something like that, especially with like elopements or small weddings. And so I just, sort of a go-to would be, I joke about it. I say, I'll just have you dry hump each other. But in something like that, when I make some sort of reference around that, it frequently just sort of, you have this laugh and it's like, oh, that's right. We're just having a good time, right? We're not doing anything that's so major that we must hold the reins so tightly or whatever. So yeah. Same with family, when I show up, I try to do that because family is always the most tense, right? Family photo time specifically is what I'm referring to. And so I just try to be real and, say a few things that might be a little derailing maybe, because then people just go, oh, okay, I don't have to. I can just hug the people I love and look at them and then the photo's going to be great.
Yeah.
Am I answering your question on that one too? Okay, great.
Yes. Well, no, because I remember we had a wedding this summer and she was getting ready at this hotel and I can be, from when I used to work in news, very high strung sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's been really a struggle for me over the 6 years to be a little at weddings. Cause I am, like when we would show up, it's like, go till 10 o'clock. And then it's like collapse. Okay, we're done. Do it again. And so I remember this summer Briar was getting ready upstairs and I wanted to go take the dress out in front of the hotel, like this big sign, like downstairs. And that's
sure.
Not always like the most easy thing to be like, hey, we'd really like to take your dress, way outside in the way and, in the elements.
The potential. Yeah.
And the mom and Lindsay's mom was like,
freak out. Yeah.
And she's like, you aren't stressed enough right now. Like I need you to basically she didn't think I was I taking it seriously enough.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I'm so trying to
you're trying to be chill. And yet she didn't want to see your chill in relationship to that wedding gown. Yeah. Absolutely. And by no means do not let me give you the impression that I come across chill. Because as you well saw, I run on grasshopper. I'm like, yes. I'm way up there. And yet still I can still love you in a calm way.
Yes.
Or give you that love in a calm way.
Yes. No, and that's what I'm saying. You got to project the whatever. But yeah, she was definitely not she wanted me to project stressed out, freak out. And I think she would have
And I think I even told you when we worked together, I was like, yeah, I don't touch that dress, dude. I don't touch it. I don't want to freak anybody out. I don't want to make anybody angry. If the bride has told me I want my dress in a certain place or I really appreciate, and I'll ask that question, honestly. I try to ask all those questions to find out who they are and what they're expecting to see. But yeah, no, given the opportunity, I will not touch that dress before the ceremony.
And also just with approaching family stuff, it is kind of this no BS kind of, you are pretty straight with, getting things going. And if when we were doing Haley and John and you got to make some jokes and stuff to kind of get people in line, you definitely can play both sides.
Right. Yeah. I usually pick somebody to tease. And sometimes I've asked them in advance, do you mind if I, poke at you a little? And usually they're pretty welcoming, with that. But I don't know if that's what you're referring to. But I think that I think very quickly when you approach a group of people whether or not they're into it, whether or not they're into your approach. And there have certainly been weddings where I dialed down my Jenny-ness because I know that that's going to be a better situation for family, and the way I am with my couples when we're alone and it's the three of us is very different than how I am with, grandma and grandpa, unless I get a very strong impression that grandma and grandpa want me to talk about dry humping, because then I gladly will. Sometimes grandma really gets into that and has some fun with me and is sassy. And yeah, especially the older I get, I recognize I'm going to be that grandma. I am. I kind of already am.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, but I know what you mean. Sometimes you the groom will be getting ready or the guys and you go in and you're like, what's up guys? And sometimes they're stone cold, like, we don't want anything to do with this. And then sometimes, oh, hey man, like, you know, and
Yeah.
I mean, you know, very early, like I know very early on.
Well, and
like,
you set the tone early with the person of honor that day. You
Yes.
know what I mean? If I walk into like a room of 12 men and I'm like, "What's up, brothers? You know, drop trowel, let's go." You know, I say these things and they're just like cracking up or not cracking up. They look to their groom like, is this what you want? Because that's really, I think, all that, especially all those people you've invited to stand up there with you. They just want to do something and to make you happy. And sometimes that includes just being chill with your photographer too, or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like accepting the vibe. And that was super rando. Sorry.
No, that's
That was really
I think
tangential.
I think that that's such a good point though, that you were saying about how like the girls or the guys or the family or whatever are going to look.
Well, and now we have a lot of wedding parties that are mixed. I love that we're getting these, you know, everybody, all the genders, right?
Yeah. But they're going to look to, you know, like you said, the people of honor and like, and the rapport that you've built with them. And then they're, I mean, it's kind of really, I just thought that was really interesting how you phrased that like, they're going to look to them and how should we react to this? Like, is this like, and if you're, you know, whoever is excited and they're ready to have you be there, then everyone else is going to be
I really want people to know that I'm on their team. I'm on their side, you know? And so if I have a really tense, for instance, if I have a really intense mother or father of one of the couple, you know, I try to just hook into what they're thinking about. And sometimes that's just saying, "Hi, I love your kid." You know what I mean? I frequently will say that to people. Just be like, "Hi, it's great to meet you. I love your kid." And then they look at me and they click and they're like, "Oh, that's right. We're on the same side of the fence. And I'm, you know, you're going to be with me and not someone that I need to teach or instruct or something." You know what I mean? Like,
no, definitely. We are all on the same team. That is something that you don't feel like you need to like let people know, but sometimes you do. We are really all here to get going.
And it's all our experiences, you know, especially in the wedding party. You've had your experiences being an attendant in another person's wedding. Maybe you've already had your own wedding. And so you have all these ideas of what is coming. And if they had a particular experience with a photographer or multiple photographers in their in the times that they've been in weddings, sometimes they come at me with that energy and that's not who I am. So, you know, no worries, dude. Like, I got you. Yeah.
It's so funny. Dorothy now had been in a lot of weddings and then obviously we're together and with weddings. And so like now she would never be, you know, rude to any wedding vendor, but like going in when she's in weddings now, like later, like I'll hear like, "Oh, that food was not really bad." Like, you are like the most judgmental.
And with our phones, we are all photographers.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I don't know how often you're approached with ideas and thoughts and perspectives. It is something that that I have grown to appreciate and love because I'm trying to look at it through their lens and see, you know, no pun intended, but to like see that from their perspective. But we all are photographers, so we all have an idea of what we want. And sometimes it's our sibling getting married or our best friend getting married, and we know what we want. We know what we want for them, and then hopefully they know what they want. I mean, that's what I've asked them. I've asked them what they want. So anyway, but I feel like my job in particular is interesting in a wedding because we are all there. We are all there with some form of recording or capturing device. Mm-hmm. And what am I going to do? What am I going to look for that's going to put me in a different channel?
Yes.
So to speak.
It's funny because and sometimes, you know, it's hard, I think, it does get tiresome sometimes with having so many people with, you know, cell phones or, "Hey, you should, the girls dancing over there," whatever. But like, I always try to take it with a grain of salt. And this is a perfect example that we were doing that weddings in Woodinville the other day. And I don't know if he was like a bartender or someone he was with the venue, just like one of the staff or something. And he was going around like a lot, like taking photos, like a lot, and like peeking over your shoulder and getting in, you know, getting in the way, kind of in the line. But like, you know, we had been talking and he was asking about like my video camera and stuff. And earlier in the day, he had said, "Hey man, like, I just got this really cool photo. Like, if you go out and you look in the pond and there's some flowers that are kind of in the thing and you can see the reflection of the tree in the light and like, it's really cool." And I like went over and looked and I was like, "Oh, like that's awesome. Like I never would have seen that, whatever, like got a shot of it. And like, that's in the promo video that we put out today." And I was like, I mean, we all still can learn. And like here, as opposed to like being annoyed by this guy or like, but because we had just kind of been BSing all day about stuff. And like, it got to a point where we're trying to shoot and it's like, okay, but I learned, I'm like, I never would have that shot. Like I never would have seen, you do see stuff that I'm not going to see. And, we try to make it that we see a lot of stuff, but sometimes it is good to get a little opinion.
I love it. I don't, I try not to take offense to anything really, because I don't think anybody ever intends to be offensive, and I, especially when I step back and look at how I approach things and what I might say, and I very rarely hold my tongue, but it's never coming from a space of like authority. It's more of a, hey dude, yeah.
So what, one thing I want to ask you about, and I think I even saw someone post online the other day looking for an inclusive photographer. And, I can't remember if you wrote or someone had mentioned you and then I can't remember what it is, but, about being inclusive, not only with portfolio work, but obviously website, that's something even like in my questionnaires and things I send out, I try to be like it's like, whereas, person A, I don't even know what I have, but, trying to be very gender neutral and inclusive. How do you approach that? And you, like, I do think are known just as kind of being a very all-inclusive photographer. And
I would hope so.
What would you say to, you advice to other vendors about websites and things? And where would you like to see, especially like in Seattle, progress here and, across everywhere? But
I mean, I think that it's really important that people feel represented. And so, whereas I'm not necessarily obsessed with making every vendor's website, 100% gender neutral. No, you can still say bride, you can still say groom, but the idea of having your website or having your company include everybody. And so that, because I I have a lot of heterosexual couples that would probably consider themselves still to be queer in some way. You know what I mean? Whatever that queerness, and I use air quotes when I say queer, but whatever that queerness is, Seattle is a really diverse city and we have people from every perspective in that way. And so I think that when I was the bride, a few years ago, when I turned and was looking at hiring the vendors for my wedding, it was really off-putting, even though I consider myself to be fairly secure in who I am and what I'm looking for. It was still really off-putting to have everything be just, so specific bride or groom. And there just wasn't that flexibility. And I think being diverse or being inclusive isn't necessarily having every single thing, notated in your website or in your portfolio, but just having the energy and the having inclusivity be your vibe. I think that's what is super important to people when they go to select their vendors. I've had a lot of straight people come to me and say, I like your work because I see my sister, I see my brother, I see my, my best friend who just came out, trans or whatever the case may be. And that I really love. That I love the idea of being that.
No, absolutely. No, and it's so interesting because I remember when we, a couple of things, the first year that we did weddings, I had, I think 2 of them were like friend referrals and they both were same sex, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't even think anything, I just needed weddings, right? You don't even think about
weddings are just weddings.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't care what you guys look like. Like, I just need, weddings. And then I remember later when we had an inquiry, years ago now, but like another same-sex wedding, and they put like on when they filled out the thing, hey, we're getting married on a cruise ship and this date and this time, and like just so and this is a same-sex wedding, like to make sure like you're okay with that, or I can't remember how they phrased it.
Isn't that awful that people feel like they have to say, "Are you okay with my existence?"
And that's exactly my point, right? Is I never seen that before, right? And I couldn't imagine having been on the other side of that and having to feel like you said, I need to preface that, like, as long as you're okay with whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, that's really sad that they have to preface that. And I was like,
and still today, it wasn't very long ago I saw on that same group mm-hmm. that you were talking about posting, someone suggesting that, that diversity is a non-issue in Seattle and that it's always been okay. And that's really not true. I mean, even now, I think it was 2 years ago, I was participating in a show and a couple came to me and they said that they had been at another venue within the same show and that they were told by a vendor that they don't do same-sex couples and turned them away. And I was blown away. I was blown away that in 2017, I guess, that was still an issue. And it's still an issue.
No, I'll tell you, I just spent 5 days working down in Puyallup at the fairgrounds for this like outdoor cooking thing. I'm like, I can tell you like diversity and is still very much an issue. And with, it was interesting. I just haven't spent that much time like outside of Seattle like that. And like an outdoor, what was it even called? It was called like the Sportsman Outdoor Show, or something like a show.
Well, that's pretty specific.
But it was like, I was like, wow, like there's a lot of like shirts here and like that are like, I was like, wow, like it was very, it's good to kind of, I don't know, get outside of the West Seattle bubble every once in a while. Cause I was wow, like this is still really
go on the other side of the pass and things get real real quick.
Yeah. But you are obviously an advocate and you do feel like, there's still just a lot of work to be done.
Sure. Yeah. And I think people are people. And I think that as soon as they feel akin to another, that, I actually had someone walk up to me at a wedding, kind of a good old boy kind of vibe. And he was like, "You queers aren't so bad." And I just thought that really cracked me up, like, yep, queer and nice. Wow. I hugged him. I thought it was actually really, really poignant.
One of the best compliments I ever had was when I was working down in Bakersfield, and I've worked at the news station down there for 2 years, and I finally got to we were friends with a lot of them, but I finally ended up being friends with one of these guys in there, and he said, "Man, when I met you, I had the biggest crush on you for like 9 months." He's like, and I was so afraid. I said, "Orlando, that's like the nicest compliment you ever could have given me." I said, "That made me feel so good." I
can't say that's been an issue in my life.
But I said that was really nice. That I don't care, gay, straight, whatever. Like if you thought I was attractive and you had a crush on me, like that makes me feel good. It was nice.
That it's nice.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for you, Reed.
I don't get it a lot. I don't get a lot of anyone coming up like, "Hey,
don't backtrack, baby. It's all good."
So, moving into next year, where do you see things going? Where do you want to just keep meeting new couples?
Honestly, I just want to keep on. I don't have my sights set on other things. I'm really enjoying the groove. And I'm down for shooting weddings as long as my knees will let me, they say, right?
I know. I get scared sometimes with like my shoulder, and I'm like early 30s, and I'm like, wow.
Well, you don't see a ton of 60-year-old wedding photographers out there. You just don't, and that's not that you couldn't. And I sure hope you can, because I'll be there, Yeah. Another decade, but
that's good. If you would want anybody to know anything about you, it could be work-wise, could be personal. You're on a podcast, Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. We're here with Jenny.
Yeah, did I tell you enough about me? Like, did I?
I feel good.
Okay, good.
But is there anything that you would just wish you always, a secret hobby that you do, or?
I really don't. As a matter of fact, I was chatting with Jen about that last night. Like, what am I going to talk about? What am I except for this? Because I really don't have a lot of hobbies. My dogs are probably my biggest hobby, and my kid. I hang out with my kid as much as I can, but other than that, I just take photos.
But I don't think that's a bad thing.
Oh no, it's a great thing. It definitely is what consumes my life. That's for sure. So
yes,
yeah, I don't knit.
But no, I do try to like convey that's like, going back to like the wedding show thing and stuff like, when I meet couples, like, it's like, like, this is what I do. Like, this is all that like anything that relates to your wedding, like, this is all I'm going to do. Right. Is like, just like all I'm thinking about is like videography and making things better and getting to know the couples and posting, just always like, I mean, this is all encompassing, right, of being like a wedding professional for me, right?
Sure. I'd agree.
You feel that
I
way?
don't know if you were actually asking me a question, but
no, just using that as like not a selling point, but just like I'm really gonna like put a lot of effort into like, the wedding.
Yeah. Well, and that's I think really interesting too. Being that we don't work for anybody but ourselves, that we only have ourselves really to monitor our efforts. And I'm always my worst critic. So I'm constantly trying to make myself feel like I'm doing the best I possibly can. That sounds really random, doesn't it? Or kind of tangential.
No, I get that.
But I don't know how to phrase that appropriately. But I obsess about making sure that I do it not just well, but that I do it the best I can in that situation. Yeah. To the point of where I don't exhale until I hear from them that they're happy.
It's tough. It's sending off those galleries and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, you said it, man. Yeah. Even just a sneak peek. You just, that's it. I'm just inside and waiting for your approval of me. That sounds pathetic.
No, I know though. God, those first couple years when I'd send them off and I would just be like,
but that has not gone away from me at all. I don't know. And maybe it's ridiculous. Maybe that's a silly part of who I am. But yeah, sometimes when I think about all that I've done, and I should have a lot more confidence than I actually have. I have great confidence in myself and in my abilities. And at the same time, I'm the first person to just rip it up, and anyway, you don't want to post that. You don't want to tell anybody that actually.
No, it's a very real, no, I get that. It's, and it'll be like, I'll sit in front of my computer all day and they'll be like, oh, this is really good. And then I'll like see someone that someone else posted and I'm like, oh, this is not
I had to stop following all the other photographers because yes, that's an easy loop to get my brain in. Yeah, for sure.
But it's, it just anything to make it better and to keep working hard. And,
Yeah. When you furrow your brow, I worry.
No.
Like, I see you going like, I'm like, oh God, no, I'm not saying the right thing. I'm not going the right way.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
You've done it. We've done it.
It's done?
We're done.
Oh my God. Did I just literally spiral? Did I just?
No. Just as good.
Like, okay, good.
Yeah. Before we let you go, if you want anyone to was interested in learning more about you and your work, where would you have them go and check out?
So my website is jennygg.com and I'm Jenny GG everywhere on Instagram. I think Facebook, it's Jenny GG Photography. There was a show called, there was a TV show out a few years ago that was I think it's there was a character by Jenny GG and somehow she got, or the movie people got the Jenny GG first. So anyway.
Jenny GG and it is good though. It's very easy to Google. It's very easy to type into anything.
Yes.
That was a good choice.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you for having
me. This has been good.
I'm still just as nervous as I was the second I walked in here.
That's okay.
But I got to pet your dog, and that was the best thing.
Yeah, and then she had the night terror and came out. We had
that made me go, poor little baby.
No, she's good.
I love puppies.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. If you're like Jenny and you're interested in coming on and sharing your story, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest. And that's a great, easy questionnaire that you can fill out. I don't even think I made you do that because I think I just chased you down and
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't.
You're cool. You're too cool for school.
You're too cool for school.
You're too cool for school. But if I don't know you, that's a great way to get started. Thank you again. This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. Check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thanks so much. You can say goodbye.
Donut, donut. Isn't that your music? Oh, bye.
Yeah.